Hey guys, it's Wednesday, 31st of August, 2022. We've just sent out our watch list to all of our traders. So I thought I'd drop you a quick video with some of those charts, top 3, top 4 that I personally like. Just going to go through them with you so you've got an idea of what we're going to be looking for on those particular currency pairs. So this is our forex outlook. We're going to be doing some different ones. We're going to have some forex, some commodities, some crypto, some different videos for different things that you can be trading. So this one is forex, which is my favorite subject. So let's start off with dollar Swiss. Really like just jumping on this nice bullish move that's happening at the moment. Really impulsive actually. When you look at the daily, not much in the line of corrections. There was one bearish candle there. There's a little bit of a consolidation, as you can see, but it was also nice here. Look at this big move here. Literally one bearish candle there, one bearish candle there, one bearish candle there. So yeah, this is looking kind of very similar to that. Okay. Just drawing a little fib on here. If we looked at this as an impulse and this is a correction, we can actually see that price came down to the 78.6. So this could actually be another impulse, and we could actually come all the way back up to here. But first things first, just jumping on this move here. There is some resistance coming up, so we could look for longs on the USD Swiss market in line with this daily trend coming up to 98.50. okay, and obviously if we break there, then we'd be looking for price to potentially come up here into that parity level. But like I say, first things first, 98.50 would be interesting. Just going to drop down a time frame. Beautiful cycles there, as you can see. There was a lovely, if you're just looking at price action without any moving averages, there was a nice little correction there. Nice bullish close above the correction, retest, perfect, and pushing forward. Some of you may use moving averages. I do like to use moving averages. You probably know this by now if you followed my analysis enough. I would like to see price pull back, ideally into this 20 moving average on the 4 hour. Won't necessarily do that though, but that's my preference. This bullish engulfing candle, absolutely beautiful here. Got that nice bit of support there. Look, little fake out, bullish engulfing candle in a correction, boom, gone. So ideally on the 4 hour we would pull back and have a little bounce off that 20 moving average. Won't necessarily happen though, and I'm just looking at this hourly now. If I was to draw a trend line, we can see price is actually starting to push to the upside. It's bouncing off this trend line. We've had a bullish close above the moving averages, so that's looking quite interesting now for this to be the start of the next move up towards 98.50. So for instance, let's just see what the reward to risk is. If we put a buy stop above this 1 hour candle, stop below this low, of course stop loss position is dependent on the trader, so you could go underneath this low or underneath that swing low there, depending on your preference. 98.50, or that would be a nice little one, just over a 1-to-1 trade there. So if you're looking to risk X amount of money to make X amount of money, £100 to make £100 or whatever your currency is, then could be a trading opportunity there. But yeah, some really nice bullish momentum here. So we are looking for that to continue to push up. So that is one of my top charts of interest at the moment. Euro GBP also looking pretty pretty good at the moment. Actually, we've had, if I put it on the daily, we've had a real strong break outside of this trend line. Now, originally I was looking at this pattern here as a correction for downside. So you can see that momentum. We were in a bullish mode here, if you like, a bullish sentiment here, bearish sentiment here as we make lower lows, lower highs, and looking for price to basically come back up into this trend line, bounce. I was looking for a sell setup here, break through this counter trend line here and form another low, potentially to test these lows here. That didn't happen though. We didn't get that price action, so there was no sell setup. Instead, we've had 4 bullish candles here, really strong bullish candles, I must say. Now, if we just put the moving averages onto here, you know, I'm not in favor of jumping on this now for longs, purely because it's had such a big move. You know, you could think about placing a buy stop above this candle, stop below the low, but the thing is, the more price action pushes in one direction, you know, without a correction, well, the probability of a correction happening increases. So, you know, the market moves in cycles. Look at this nice big move here. This one lasted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, 5 trading days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. And then boom, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 days of correction back towards the moving averages. So, you know, how many times has this gone, you know, really far in one direction without a correction? So I wouldn't be jumping on this long, purely because I think if I did that, the odds would not be in my favor. And when I take a trade, you know, I like to have the odds in my favor. And that's what you should be doing as a trader. There's always some uncertainty to any trade because we are not in control of the markets. At the end of the day, we place our trade, and what happens. But you've got to think, okay, this is such a big move. Is this going to carry on? Highly unlikely. I'd be waiting for reversal signs and potentially look for a correction back towards the moving averages. And that would be obviously a counter trend trade. If you are a trend trader, then, you know, you'll just be waiting for this to pull back and then waiting for signs of bias to come in again. Maybe a morning star pattern around these moving averages might be something you would look for. What I was going to do then, I drew the wrong thing. I wanted to draw a fib. And that's just assuming that this high would be the high of the move. Impulse all the way up to here. We've got 61.8% retracement, brings you nicely around these moving averages. 50% retracement around this 8 moving average. So my preference actually is to look for shorts on this temporarily and then start looking for longs with price action. So when I say with price action, I mean I'll look for the sellers to start leaving the market and for buyers to come in. So I'll be looking for a candlestick pattern or setup indicating a change of cycle and be looking for something like that. So potential for shorts. Once we see this impulse become exhausted, those buyers die out and we start to see sellers, and then expect another move to the upside. So a bit of euro pound short when we start to see price exhaustion. But like I say, if you are a trend trader, you will not be interested in that counter trend move. You'll be waiting very patiently, sitting on your hands and waiting for price to pull back and then look for a buy setup. Dollar peso, not a chart I often look at, but we took a nice little sell on this the other day. Unfortunately, this didn't hit target. Well, our first target was these lows here. Basically looking at, if I just show you this support here, broke, retest, rejection, and our first target was here. second target's down here, and look, it just kind of came down to, touched into this zone but didn't quite come into our target. So unfortunately it ended up as a break-even trade, which, you know, as long as you're not losing money, then, you know, you should be happy, but ideally you want to be making money. But that was a break-even trade. I am looking at this, and this is probably one of the only USD pairs I'm looking at where I would be looking to short the US dollar, because the US dollar is a strong market at the moment. But I am looking at this big move down here, pullback, and possibly a range happening. So we have our resistance, support, just about came to that support again there, resistance, bearish candle there, and potentially if we can break today's low, we might be heading back towards these lows here around about 1984.50, 1985. And then obviously if it can break below there, then we're looking towards 1950. Just looking at the hourly, because this is probably what I'd be trading it on, obviously being able to intraday trade, I would be looking for a break and retest of this H1 support here around about it's between 20.08 and 20.1. Nice little bit of support there. I don't think there's any point in looking for sells on this until we break below here, and ideally retest, reject, and then look for sells. So basically waiting this one out if you're looking for shorts for that move down, close below the level, retest a bullish candle into the level, and then potentially you can look for an evening star pattern, or if we get a nice bullish 1 hour candle going into the level, you could think about placing a sell stop underneath that bullish candle, anticipating the reversal. But yeah, that's the kind of price action I'd be looking for. Now, it didn't quite come into targets for us with our targets down here, like I say. So what you could do is have, with this 1 hour trade, you know, multiple targets, probably get a nice easy 1-to-1 trade and a 2-to-1 trade there, if I'm honest with you. So possibly like an inverse head and shoulder pattern here. This is your neckline. But yeah, I think the 1 hour time frame, if this plays out, should produce a really nice setup with, you can have at least a couple of targets on this. So yeah, that one looks really nice as well. Obviously, this could still break to the upside as well, so you have to have that in your mind. Break and retest at this level here, and I'd be looking at the trend line as my final target, because obviously from that trend line we could obviously bounce back down, and so yeah, that would be my choice for targets for any longs. So break above. Again, intraday trading, break above, retest, pullback, and then trend line, or just before this trend line, would be my target. So, you know, have your plan outlined beforehand, so you're open to different options. Okay, well, if it does this, then I'll look for this, and if it does this, I'll look for this, etc., etc. Because we don't know what the market's going to do, but we have our preference, we have our bias. And then what happens, okay? But we need a plan to follow through, so we know exactly how we're going to place our trade or trades. So we've done dollar Swiss, we've done dollar peso, euro GBP, gold. Obviously, we're doing forex today, aren't we? For gold and Nasdaq. So yeah, Aussie yen. Just something to have a little look at here. Nothing setting up for me at the moment, but when you go up to the monthly time frame, we are actually at monthly resistance, and we've been, you know, in this zone for quite a few months actually. Now, obviously, we're not pushing to the upside, so we're not breaking through this resistance. We're not closed above it or breaking above it. So, you know, I'm thinking, well, might we see a little bit of downside on this? Maybe a bigger downside move, who knows? But it's got me thinking about, okay, well, we're failing to break above. Maybe we're going to see some shorts on this. So let's just get the MACD up as well. Now, there's no divergence here, because that's what I'd be looking for. I'll be looking for lower peaks on the MACD, but it's actually in agreement. So the weekly and the MACD are in agreement. Okay, so that would indicate that this weekly trend, if you like, is likely to continue and break to the upside. Likely to. Here's our trend line. Let's just drop down to the daily. Okay, daily telling us a little bit of a different story here. Can you see we have our price going to the upside, but look at these consistently lower peaks on the MACD. This leads me to believe that we are likely to see some downside, but maybe on the short term, because the weekly price action and MACD are in agreement with each other, but the daily isn't. So we might see some selling, but not on the bigger picture, just like a correction basically. So what could we look at if we are going to have a little bit of a move down? Let's just tidy this trend line up. This is the bigger trend line. What's happening on the bigger picture? Well, we've got these lows here, so I'm just going to connect those lows. So price may drop down into this trend line here and bounce. Okay, so it could do something like this. Let me just draw it out for you. We could see that move down and then see buyers come in. Could see that, or potentially we could see that move down. We could break through this trend line, a correction, maybe a retest, hit that bigger trend line there, and then start to push up. So first things first, I'm going to drop to the 4 hour now. So this is the daily. I'm going to drop to the 4 hour. And what I'm seeing is 4 hour is pushing to the upside still. Okay. If we're going to be looking for shorts on this, then we want to see that 4 hour change cycle. And we want to see this 4 hour trend line broken. So what I will be looking for is, because of that MACD on the daily potentially telling us we could see some sellers come in, I will wait for a solid close below this H4 trend line before I start even thinking about sells. I'll look for a correction or correction pattern, and then I'll look for a sell with this next trend line here as my target. Okay, if you want to, you could leave a little bit of money on the table here just in case this does break down further. This may even retest the trend line, we don't know. So yeah, it will either bounce here, or we could continue to the downside. Again, you could look for another correction, corrective pattern, and look for shorts. Okay, that's just a CTL counter trend line. So we've got, let's summarize. We've got the weekly Aussie yen for Aussie yen saying we've got a bullish trend, and it looks likely to continue even though we are at monthly resistance. But the daily has divergence on the MACD suggesting we could see some short-term downside. So that doesn't mean we just sell. We wait for evidence of sellers coming in. So I would wait for that impulse down, breaking and closing below this H4 trend line. Look for a correction in the market, and then look for your sell setup with this trend line here as my target. Okay, and potentially leave a little bit on the table just in case this actually breaks through and comes down to the bigger trend line. Obviously, once we have come down here, if you are going to leave anything of the trade on the table, you obviously make sure that you put your stop to break even, because obviously that needs to be a risk-free trade then. So yeah, that's something which may happen, and that's what the MACD is suggesting on the daily. So we will see. It's going to be dependent on price action. And so that is just one to keep an eye on. What I'm going to do is, and whether you want to do the same, I don't know, I will set an alert. So I don't need to keep on watching this chart. I'm going to set an alert somewhere under here. In fact, I might do it a little bit lower. So that will go off when we break the trend line. We have a nice solid close below. H4 trend line broken. Yeah, let me just, I think that should be okay. I think that should be okay. Maybe I'll put it just a little touch higher because I don't want to miss the move. So when price comes down, breaks through this trend line, hits my alert, boom, I'm going to be alerted, and then I'll start getting interested in looking for shorts on this. But until we break through this trend line, you know, there's nothing short trade wise to look for. Great thing about alerts. So there you go, Aussie yen, potential thoughts on what could be happening. Dollar Swiss longs into 98.50 at the very least. Dollar peso short on a break and retest of this H1 support here. Break and retest of this 2024 level for longs up into the trend line. Euro GBP coming like a bull out of a china shop. Nice little saying there from the UK at the moment. But the longer this goes, the more you would anticipate price to pull back. And look, it can sometimes pull back very, very quickly. So just be aware of that. Guys, that is it from me for tonight. Safe trading. Please like the video if you liked it. If you're not subscribed to our channel, please subscribe. If you know anyone that might like to watch our analysis, please share the video or our YouTube page with us. With them, I should say. It's getting late here in the UK. So from me and the team, we will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.